In this country, there is very low unconditional support for nuclear power. About 31% of the population would unconditionally support it.
Yeah, and I think if you took those 31% and asked them if they wanted that nuclear power plant in their backyard, every one of them would say,
well,
no, thank you.
There's a statistic about that. If you look at the public attitude survey, it will tell you exactly how many of them don't want it in their backyard, which is pretty much everybody.
Yeah, well, I don't want it in my backyard,
and
even if I was for nuclear.
But 80% of the public here are in favour of abandoning fossil fuels, and 80% of the public here are in favour of having renewable power.
Right.
So
that means essentially what we're saying is 80% of the people in the country are not being represented in government in that respect because of the fact that the government's not doing what they want. David Cameron cut the feed-in tariff by over 50%, and then 5 days later, as soon as that cut happened, he went to EDF and signed a deal to build a new nuclear power plant. Literally, 5 days later.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You can't imagine how pissed off I was about that.
Well, you can't imagine how pissed off I was. I got the power station on my doorstep.
I lost my job because of that feed-in tariff cut.
Yeah,
because I was selling solar energy systems. I was changing the planet one domestic energy installation after another, literally one at a time, one person at a time, one house at a time.
I know, and I know solar installers, and I know people who want wind, and I know people who are trying to support tidal. The thing is, and this is where you have to have a kind of bigger picture thing, is the government or governments no more want us to have energy autonomy than they want us to have food or shelter autonomy. They took our land. I don't remember it. I was, born way after Highland clearances and enclosure, but I know it happened 500 years ago here. In America, the Americas were colonised and the First Nations people were deprived of their land.
Yeah,
repeatedly. And that's still going on in the world now. It's still going on with First Nations communities. And now what do we want to do? We've took the fucking resources out of their reserves. We've raped it for oil, we've raped it for uranium, and now we want to go and dump the waste in their communities. Talk about Australia. Do you know where they want to put that stuff? In Aboriginal homelands. Talk about Canada. Where do they want to put it? On Aboriginal homelands. Sands. Do you know what I mean? All of this stuff is completely and utterly connected. So I think I think about this a lot because I'm not a single issue person. We don't live single issue lives. Do you know
I think
it's
all interconnected, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's
it is
an
all
interconnected web of,
but there's a danger for people
strings that get pulled in one direction or another whenever you start talking about this subject, because at the end of the day, let's assuming I could wave a magic wand tomorrow and change the nature of our energy production so that 100% of it was renewable, everybody had solar panels on their roof, distributed network of generation, distributed network of energy consumption. We got rid of fossil fuels completely and went to a hydrogen-based economy where we were using hydrogen, the byproduct of which combustion or electrolysation is nothing but water. The only byproduct is water. So we completely clean up the environment. The problem is that Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, every other oil-producing country on the planet, whether it be Middle Eastern, South American,
and
American,
oil-consuming,
and the oil-consuming public, is not the public, but the companies that spend the money and dish out all that fuel. All of that economy goes out the window.
But you can't make clear and concise distinctions between the corporations and the public. There's a very much a tendency to kind of go them, BP, and us, the people. Well, who's got their pension fund where?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, no, this is a valid point.
The boundary between the corporation and between the person, the private individual, is very blurry.
Well, this is something that's going to be discussed in my book. When I discuss the problems of the energy industry, one of the subjects that I've got listed as a chapter heading in that chapter is our pensions. Because I recognize the fact that a lot of pension money that's invested
is invested in really bad places.
Right,
where
exactly.
It makes the money, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Well, that's because they pay good dividends. Why wouldn't they pay good dividends? Because they're ripping off the public right, left, and center in order to sell us fossil fuels that are destroying the planet.